Hi, I'm Sarah Huang. I'm an artist living and working here in Delray Beach, Florida. I'm also the director of operations here at Arts Garage. Growing up, my mother always encouraged me to be artistic, to be artful. We'd take field trips and little day trips to museums. As I got older and the more that I immersed myself in art making. I big into cartoons, big into graphic novels. I said, one day I'm gonna make comics. But I didn't pursue that, and it wasn't until I was maybe in my second year of college, I just decided to one day take a figure drawing class. I was at FAU, so I enrolled and immediately, like literally my first day or two there, I was like, this is it. Like, I gotta do this. When you think of the life of living like an artist, it's like if it's in you and it's innate, like in so many people to create. And I think that's really a wonderful thing when people finally come up to realize like what it is that they're supposed to be doing. Now, in what fashion or way that I was going to pursue this in, it wasn't really clear cut. I still had no idea what I would eventually want to do. Would I want to be a working artist? Maybe I would go and eventually pursue a master's and then teach at the collegiate level. Like, I had no idea. I was just going with it because it's what felt natural and right for this trajectory that I was on. After a couple more years, I graduated with my bachelor's in fine art, painting concentration from Florida Atlantic University. That was in 2015. So since then, I've been working, exhibiting, and developing my art in the meantime until I, figure out what it is that's next. And I'm really glad to have had the opportunity to exhibit here not only once here at Arts Garage, but another time here with the Artists in Quarantine exhibition. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to have our hours cut. Some staff was furloughed. So with my hours cut, I needed to find some way to generate some additional income. So I picked up some side gigs, do some logos, some consultations. And being in quarantine, I think I've only gone out once to the art store. But then after that, I was like, you know what, I really don't want to be going out too much more. And I have so many materials that I am missing out on the opportunity to use. So what do I have? I had a bunch of different drawings that I had started from over the last couple years, maybe over the last 3 years. I had started these large graphite drawings on Mylar that I intended to use for other purposes, but I was like, yeah, if I haven't used them yet, I might as well just use them now. I'm like, whatever project that I was working on prior, it doesn't exist anymore because I'm a completely different person now. So the piece that I've submitted to this show is called In Pieces. It's a collage made out of cut up drawings on Mylar, which is another synthetic drafting film, on top of Yubo paper. And what's great about it is that it has this wonderful up close detail value, but then you get far away and you start kind of seeing some other things because the Mylar isn't completely flat on the Yubo paper. There's some give. So when I was working on it, one of the most wonderful things about it was that it would kind of flitter and move around with my fan going. So I would hear these really light brushes of Mylar against the wall, against the other pieces of Mylar paper, Yubo. It just was like this wonderful process, and underneath it you'll see kind of like an eye and an eyebrow and maybe some lips. I had started sketching some self-portraits because, of course, if you're in quarantine, the only person you're really around is you only have yourself. So while I was kind of layering this, I'm like, wouldn't it be so great if I just had like these like little blips of self-portraits, like these moments of like breathing and glaring, like it's just kind of it stares back at you. And I couldn't escape this idea that I wanted that to be incorporated because of again, it's a very solitary thing. And even if you're making art on a normal day, it's a very solitary process, but the quarantine just seemed to make that process even more prominent. So if I'm looking at myself every day and this is what I'm seeing and what I'm envisioning I just felt like it made sense to incorporate some self-portraiture. Everything else is like this swooping, visceral landscape where at least in my experience, I'm pretty social, and being in this quarantine situation, it just made me feel fragmented and broken and, missing and longing for things that I didn't have. And of course, I mean, we haven't been in this situation for very long, but, I think it affects everyone differently. And for me, especially, I think it's just been a little disorienting. But the color choice that I had is just something that I'm continuously drawn to. A lot of peaches, these lime greens. Like, a lot of the times I want to bring in the Florida landscape, but at the same time, these colors are kind of discomforting because they're almost reminiscent of flesh or like bile or things like of the bodily nature. Rarely do I make something so immediate like that, because sometimes I stew over one piece of work. But this one just felt, it just came right from me. I don't know, I just love having that like piece of me in this collected like experience that the painting gains. It's really interesting to me too. So I'm not only like repurposing these drawings, but a lot of these paintings that eventually come to be, it's just the accumulated experience of that painting, like what it has gone through at various stages in my life or in various stages throughout that year.